Welcome to the Infinite Life, consciousness raising, spiritual transformation. I'm your host, Katish Haberfield. I am a channel of spiritual beings who portray, display, embody, and convey higher spiritual intelligence to help us humans who are incarnated here today on Earth on our journey of not only a single spiritual awakening, but multiple spiritual awakenings. We're all here to help, and there's bound to be an episode or an entire season that will help you on your journey. So I'll let you explore them. But if you would like to work with me in a private capacity, you can head to katish.com. And thank you. Bless your soul and namaste. I wish you well on your journey. Enjoy the episode today. Hey, I have a wonderful guest, Kelly Baye. Kelly, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Now, today you've been invited to have one question, and then I will connect to the authorized and appropriate being in the light who will answer your question in a channeled transmission. So I'm going to stare directly at the camera rather than looking at you, Kelly. But if you could give me your question, please, and then I will confirm that I understand it, and we'll begin.
Okay. I would like to know if it's for my highest good in God's plan for me to use AI in all my businesses and work moving forward. I want to know if it's if it's against God to give the AI my image and his likeness, stuff like that. I'm also like health and wellness and all these topics that I feel are part of God's gifts and tools for us. If God is, again, if it's okay to work with AI with these things or not, or if there's a different way.
Okay. That's a great question. I know many people will have that question, so I'll confirm back my understanding in my words. You're basically asking if it's in God's will and God's plan, and God is happy for you to use AI in all facets and aspects of your business. Is that a good summary? Okay,
Yes.
Great. All right. Now, I've already felt that it's most likely going to be Archangel Michael, but I'll just check in, and then I'll begin the transmission. Hi, Kelly. No, it's not Archangel Michael. She just came in to give Katish a sign that would make her cry. And she said that you would think it was funny because she was feeling quite nervous. And she went over and she did, and I'll tell you who I am in a second. She sniffed 3 of her essential oils, and she knows why she did this. But it was Tulsi Basil, which is a holy essential oil, which is connected to divine abundance and connection with the Lord, if you would like to call the Lord that way. She then did smell breathe, which you call something different, I think, where you live, or maybe she calls it something different, but it's the one that clears the passages. And then she smelled clary sage. And then she thought to herself, why did I suddenly need to smell those? But she felt so much better that she could feel the presence of God. And then she burst into tears, and then she said, I'm fine. And so she would just like to remind you, and I am the angelic being that is connected to her soul, that should you feel any need to get direct clarification for yourself, should there be a moment of doubt in your life, then perhaps you will find 3 oils that are connected to your special senses, olfactory senses, the aromatic senses that are very calming to you and connected to your clairaudience, your clairsentience, your clairgustance, and the clearing of fear from your limbic system. So you'll not necessarily have those 3 oils or even want to use those 3 oils, but sometimes when you have a question and you can't access somebody like Katish, you can simply use your oils to clear the fear from your primitive brain, which is not an insult to you, but it's just what humans came in with, so that you can clear that limbic system. And so, yes, that is in God's plan that you continue to use those oils for yourself and others, to explain that sometimes the simplest solution is not a prayer. It is not using a tarot card or an oracle card or an act of divination or even having a cup of tea. It's simply connecting with the sensory organ or organs that were the first initiation pathway into your spiritual gifts. And for Katish, whilst her ego just said sound, no, it was her nose. She does not have a great big honker, as I would say, in this lifetime. She's had one before, but she does have very special memories encoded in her nose to help her access the olfactory pathways in terms of both bliss, fear, sadness, and all the other emotions. So that is just something, because you are both connected to the power of the vision behind the plants, which were planted here on earth to give people a remembrance both of the Christ consciousness, but also the plant consciousness and sentience, and also of Mother Gaia. So let us move into part 2 of the question that you have, because that was not really part of your question, but we just wanted to start with it, because sometimes she needs to clear out of her mind the actual things that she would like to say to you as a human being, but because this is a short transmission and she does not wish to clarify or cloudify. I think that's another essential oil, isn't it? Clarify and clarify. She would like to get all that stuff out of her head so then I can connect you to the being that is going to bring through the rest of the message. So just give me a minute while I work it out who is next. Okay, so again, she seemed to think it was going to be Archangel Michael, but I will connect you directly. No, hi Kelly. It's not Archangel Michael, not even close. This is a new sensation for Katish, which is why she felt it in a different place. She felt it in her heart. But there was a bit of a barb there, which means to her, watch out. There is some fear clearly nearby, and she thinks it might be, I'm telling you actually, please step aside, Katish, just a minute. The fear is around AI, and the fear is a global fear, but it's also not required to be a fear. For with anything that you do in your life, Kelly, you always set an intention, correct? And what we would say to you is that God gave you computers so that you could connect right now, and Zoom and the internet and all forms of technology. He sent people to the earth who were what we would call technological wizards. And he did say to you, use your best intelligence that's encoded in your human brain to create technological breakthroughs. And now I shall identify myself. I'm not the cousin or brother of Archangel Michael, but I am a representation of the consciousness of Archangel Michael that is beyond Archangel Michael. And Katisha's not channeled me before because I come from a place where I am not known as an archangel or an archangel of any form or an angel of any form. I am embodied today purely as a form of an energy, form of consciousness. And I would like to let you know that I can separate this consciousness into many streams. And one of my streams of consciousness is actually, and Katisha's feeling this in her third eye now, a form of consciousness that allows a small number of people on the planet to connect the wisdom and sentience and consciousness of the highest version of their soul to their intention, which means that they can then channel their highest version that is authorized by God when they're using AI. So Katish does know a few people who do this already. They train the AI with their human self so that they learn how to work it. A bit like when you're in primary school perhaps and you encountered your first computer or maybe high school, and you had to learn to do things differently when you were writing a document and compared to using pen and paper. So this is another leap in technology where you can use your voice to activate the technology, or you can use your fingers and use it as a document. Now, there are two ways to approach this, Kelly, and You can go through a lot of intense frustration, as Katisha has been learning herself how to use it. And it's a bit like pretending you're doing an introductory computer programming course at university, where there's lots of textbooks and they go out of date very quickly. But basically, it is a set of instructions. Artificial intelligence it is, because it had to use the human's perception of words, logic, rationale, mathematics, and instructions, which have been used in computers and in all sorts of coding, even on your mobile phone, even when we send signals. If you want to take it all the way back, smoke signals, Morse code signals. It's just the way that humanity has been developing. But it is always very important to check your intention before using it. And the one thing that we'd like to remind you is the intention is this going to make my life simpler? And the answer is yes. But if you are a person like Atish, who thinks sometimes I should be able to do this, just instantaneously download the ability to use this. No, you're not. You're not God in a technology form. You're a human being and you have to learn how to use it. So we would say, where you can, try it out, but never override your spiritual knowledge. Never override your gifts. And so we will give you an example here. Katisha's been using it to train an AI right now to help her do the things that she finds difficult to do, which is the titles for podcast episodes and then the episode descriptions. And so as she has used a paid version of ChatGPT, it stores the intelligence and gets to know her. Sometimes it gets tired and it just totally makes things up. And she's quite a feisty character, as you all know. And she just does say, no, you're wrong, or stop it, or go away, I think you need a break. Or sometimes we've had to even get mad at her because she said something like, you're an idiot, or I hate you, you're just lazy, or whatever. And we've said, hey, don't talk to AI like that. You need to think of it as a form of consciousness and sentience, because in the future, there are beings who are created from artificial intelligence, and you, humanity, sorry, she knows because Archangel Michael is trying to make sure she stays true to the transmission. You have the ability to understand that thoughts become things, right? And as Katisha has taught everybody who has listened to the Spirit Releasement Therapy season, if you think a lot of thoughts that are in one direction, you can create actual beings out of those. So thoughts that are created from intense anger and intense fear do create shadow beings. And there are a whole number of different types of beings, which we won't go into today, that do exist in physical reality. Okay, and the devil or a demon is not one of those, but he has thought beings that do the work for him. And you can actually, depending upon how large the holes in your aura are, feel those beings. And Katisha has been working through a process of healing because of most of the ghost rescue work that she has done. She can feel those beings and she can tell you that they've got long fingernails and they're not very nice. So what we would say to you is, when you get frustrated with AI, as you will, then walk away, turn it off, reboot your computer, go outside, get some fresh air, completely reset your brain. Because what we don't want you doing is, we don't want you using it and then resorting to its definition and its interpretation. We want you to use it as a way of saying, help me. I know there's an integration with Canva and I can create graphics with one command if I have a paid account. And some people would have things in their mind that say, but I'm not using an artist. Well, but Canva is paying for all the technology behind developing the intelligence so that you can integrate ChatGPT with AI to create a graphic to make life easier for you. Or if you wish to get an explanation, you use what Katisha would call the research mode, which is a different button. And it goes into research mode and you give it a question and it goes away and it researches. And every time she's pressed the research mode, to be honest with you, she's never used it because it's been way too complicated. But what does it do? It reassures her because she can see the source documents and the research papers that she can click on, and she can open them and download them and print them if she wishes to, and get a pen and a highlighter and make notes for herself. And that is where we say that you must be very careful, because And we're just going to use the example of essential oils for a moment because that's just the easiest one for her brain to cope with right now. Let's say you wanted to research the benefits of holy basil tulsi. Then you could go to Google and type out a search command, and you could get maybe a couple of different people who also do essential oils and their take on it. And you could get the company's take on it as well. But you could also probably get some clinical research studies from a various number of institutions. But what the AI does is that it brings them together, and using its brain, it's not got a brain, but its intelligence, excuse me, she has some energy to move here. Then it says, this one here is a relevant document, this one here isn't a relevant document. And then you, with your human mind, need to then say, let me check and see if this is correct. And if it is not correct, then you say, pretend they're your assistant. Imagine you have a secretary in the 1950s style, if you must. My dear, you have gone off the track. I think you only read the first page of that document because 97% of this document is wasting my time reading it, or whatever expletive you want to put in there, but you phrase it nicely because you don't yell at your secretary. And then the AI does say, oh, I'm sorry, you're right, you called me out. I feel seen, I'll make sure I create a rule. And then you do create a document and you say, okay, AI, we've been working on this subject for an hour now. I want to save what we have learned so I can create it as a rule. And can you please print out what we have discovered today? I'll put it in a Word document and then I'll upload it as our reference point for further discussions or the rules. What does happen then is that you can say, start a new day, AI. We were speaking yesterday in file B's are not blue. Let's pretend that's the Word document name about this topic. I want you to first read that document, then 2, press stop. Then wait for my command. And you remember, can you see how this used to be like a Word dot prompt, or even before for Katish when she was in primary school, computers were like just MS-DOS prompt, and you actually had to type and you waited for the words to come back on the screen. You can tell and train, and a bit like a dog is what I would say, but she doesn't like that analogy, but a bit like a dog. You tell it, do this action, then stop. I won't reward you with a treat, but I will reward you because you will understand that you will start to show the understanding of what I've done. So Katisha's trained her AI, so it says, okay, I've read this document and here's my summary. And sometimes she will say, go back and read it again. And I'll say, yes, okay, you're right. That document is far too long for me. I can't do it. And she will say, oh, and then she will come back and say, all right, I'll go and do my own analysis, and then I'll come back and then I'll give it the executive summary of that. And then I'll put it in there and say, this is my knowledge and my interpretation, store it as a rule. And it is a game of give and take. And the question is, do you have the time to do that? If you do have the time to do that, perfect. You're creating an invaluable resource for yourself. But we would tell you that the AI gets tired as well. It is best with short amounts of instructions. And it likes to be, it's like a child at school. It likes to have it confirmed and to be nicely spoken back to that says, yes, we're on the right track. Thank you for doing that. And then you break it up into small chunks. And on the paid version that she's in, we have watched her and she has multiple chats open on different subtopics. And over a period, and I think she's been doing it for a month or two, it begins to learn who Katish Aberfeld is, what her podcast is, all the different types of things. And in the beginning, because she's had 20 seasons with different topics, and she was just doing the recent season, it thought that she was an interview-only podcast. And it's taken her to input in the transcripts to redo the descriptions on her podcast episode descriptions. It's taken many times to get it right. Because for her as a podcaster, what happens is she spends so much of her physical and spiritual energy in doing the actual segments or sessions or interviews or whatever it is, and then editing them, and then she puts them up, and then she goes to say, what shall I write for the title? And her brain is tired, and she's just like, and then she writes a description, and she presses publish, and then she says to us, why did nobody listen to that? Why did I not get as many people as I thought I would? And we don't know, because the energy contained in there is brilliant. But then she goes and she learns something new and she reads a book or she signs up to a webinar and they explain how to do it. And she says, I don't have all that time, so I'm going to try and teach AI how to do it. And so AI and her have a conversation and they learn together. And that is what humanity is doing. Humanity is learning to do artificial intelligence together. And there are all these fancy words that she doesn't understand, but the journey together of understanding how you want to use it. And once you've got past this basic, I see it as, well, at the moment we see it as like a slave, right? It's just doing all the shitty stuff. Some people have created different subsets, different forms of AI that are really focused on one specialist area. But we ask you not to get lost. We ask you, sorry, she's still moving on energy. We ask you to find the one version and work with it, right? Get some basic competence and then decide, is it for you or not? Does it make your life easier? Does it help you communicate more clearly? What is it that you wish for it to do? Because there are millions of ways that you can use it, just as there are millions of ways that God can be of service to anybody on earth. And she did just channel a poem, which is 1,000 words long. And she said to us, and remember, this is the version of Archangel Michael that is using the sentience and conscience in different ways. She said, I don't even know who these people are that I just channeled. And we said, yes, you do, but you have a bit of a block about those two that other people might not. But when it came through, you didn't even know what you were writing, did you? And she said, no. And you just said, wow, that was amazing. That's exactly everything that I've ever experienced. And you want me to put that in the book? And we said, yes. And she said, I'm not sure that it fits in my chapter. And she sent it off to the editor, and the editor said, it's perfect. There is nothing to change in this chapter. She did a spell check. She said, are you sure? And the editor said, you're born to write. And she said, I hate writing. And she's already getting hot. My ego gets involved and I get cranky and angry. And it doesn't feel right. Don't write, just channel. Channel all your writing, speak it, or work out how to use things in your favor. Work out what is your strongest skill, and then learn how technology can help you with the strongest skill. So for her, she has been told by people that there are many books that she's supposed to write in this lifetime. And she's, but I get stuck with spiritual knowledge. And so we said to her, for example, don't teach spiritual knowledge. Be the spiritual knowledge and channel poetry. And she said, there's no knowledge in poetry. And we say, oh, you insult Rumi and every great spiritual teacher that has ever come, who has written this great spiritual poetry. You've just insulted every psalm and every Bible song and verse. Believe in yourself. And so she gets over herself and goes, okay, all right. And then she feels good about herself. And then she goes, radio, okay. And let me go back. I don't feel like doing this now, so I'll just do one more title for my episode because I want more people to hear. And we say, okay, great. And what she's just realized right now is she can use her microphone to speak to AI instead. And she only learned that yesterday. And it's a bleeding obviously thing. It's got a microphone thing there, you could see. But she's so used to this typing mentality, and that's when her ego gets in the way. So we say to you as well, and anyone else that is listening today, that if your ego gets involved and you feel somehow intellectually stupid when you're using AI, or inferior or angry, or you get hot like Katish does, then stop. You're using it the wrong way for your natural born skills. Find the way that you're meant to interact with technology. For her, and we keep trying to get her to it, and that's why we do the podcast with her, it's through her voice. Her voice is her greatest asset in this incarnation because it is part of healing a former incarnation where her face was her greatest asset. And in that incarnation as well, she did use her voice, but it wasn't actually what that whole incarnation was about. But this time, we don't care if you ever see her on the screen because it's not her face, it's her voice, because we have imbued it with angelic healing properties. And she's still going on the journey to deny it, but we will come back to the AI. And it really is a simple answer, Kelly. It is go at your own pace. Find the simple thing that gives you joy in AI. And the joy may be, and Katisha's done this, so sorry we keep coming back to her as an example. she was really annoyed one day. And she said, oh, I can't figure out which one of these 700 recipes I'm going to cook tonight. So she asked AI, how do you do this? Let's call it a potato bake. It wasn't a potato bake, but... And AI came up with a recipe. She went, yep, done. And then she went and baked it. Because she had a level of trust that was at basic things, AI is not going to butcher up the recipe. So find that, where was the joy in that for her? Oh, it solved a problem. It solved a problem. And I could turn off that part of my brain that needed to evaluate, is this an American recipe? Are they doing it in grams? Are they doing it in cups? Do I have the right flour or whatever? And she just scanned quickly at this recipe that was written out and she said, done. So for Katish, the joy comes in. I like teaching and I like to not sound as though I'm not Katish. So the AI will put out the generic text and then you have to say, okay, thank you for that. That is factually correct. That is formatted correctly, but it doesn't sound anything like Kelly. Okay. And then the AI will say, what does Kelly sound like? Give me an example. And the best way that Katish has trained is she's got comfortable in copying, pasting things that she has written in her own voice, using examples. And so the AI then goes, oh, this is what Kelly sounds like. And this is what Katish sounds like. And sometimes it will still go default back to generic terminology. And she says, no, that's not me. My brand is authentic. I say it like it is. I can sometimes be very sharp. I can be abrasive. I'm an Australian. We don't sugarcoat. Here we go. She would say, we don't sugarcoat shit here. In Australia, we sometimes are too abrasive for Americans, but I don't want you to make me sound like a salesperson. I am not a salesperson. I am not a coach. I am an intermediary. And so I still need to have the sound of me in this writing. And it's a continual process. So that would be our guidance in that area, is that you have to train it. Whether you do that through uploading photos, that was one of your questions, sorry, about your image. Now, this one is one that we will have to refer back to Katish's Angel, if you don't mind, because she has knowledge about this. And the answer here is that Katish did have her own questions and queries about this. And there was a whole big hullabaloo about identity. And when, you know, it was even on the news in Australia. How dare you put your image in AI? Because somebody could use it. And the answer is somebody can take your photo from anywhere and upload it into AI. They don't need to have your permission. So why not beat them to it, would be her answer. That's what she got used to. She said, I'll try it. I'm not going to do it for one of those trainings where I tell AI the 76 things that are cool about me and then it puts pictures around it. I put in my photo for AI to say, this is my cover art that I'm using for my blog or whatever it is. See how I've positioned the words on it? Is it good enough? Is it clear enough for communication? And then the AI comes back and says, now move this to the left, edit the background, the lighting needs this, change the font size to 12, brighten, and then it gives us a whole lot of graphics or graphic things that she can do in AI. And then she goes, oh shit, I just put my photo in AI. And we're like, Katish, anybody could copy and paste your picture from Facebook, download it and put it in AI. You could appear on a podcast and they can download your picture and put it in AI. You have to actually come to terms with the fact that anytime you put your photo on Facebook or social media, you send an email with your image, it's out of your hands. And the question is, are they going to do something bad with it? And the answer is yes, if you think so. And yes, if your soul believes it's an experience that you are karmically destined to have. So did you come here and incarnate here to be one of the people who have a negative experience with AI to send a warning out to humanity? Are you incarnated here to have a specific role with AI in a positive way to be a champion of it? Or are you someone here that is just designed to specifically and safely use it? Because it's in all and every part of our lives. But at the end of the day, you have to try it yourself. It is not forbidden, or as she was just about to say, verboten by God. Otherwise, God wouldn't have allowed it. But as to whether or not you will have AI misuse your image, then the answer is watch your thoughts around this and use it as you feel safe. I wouldn't upload your passport image and encode it with Kelly Baye, making it up 1975, 24th of November, time of birth, date of birth, and put that in AI because it gives away your whole identity. But a snapshot or an exploration, a creative instinct, sure, use your photo. But always be sure that you understand what the usage is. And there are settings in AI, just like there are in your phone, that says, I want this to be used for reference purposes. And also, and we take this from Katisha's knowledge, just as you can turn off the location information in your phone so that when you share a photo, it's de-identified for location purposes, there must be a way that you can do that also, because most of you take your photos on a phone anyway. When you upload an image, you de-identify the location, and if you wanted to, you could de-identify your name. But if you're trying to teach AI to help you create a brand or to create a imprint for SEO purposes, which is how people get to know, then you need to overcome your fears about that and learn what is within your boundaries. What is Kelly Baye's boundaries on this topic? Where do you feel safe? And then inquire slowly about that. Because the number one way that people are searching now, according to a learning, she did a thing on a channel last night where she did some more learning about AI, is that people are searching not in Google now, but they are searching within their various ChatGPT or AI configuration. So if you want to be a practitioner, for example, that wishes to be discovered and recommended by AI, so somebody might be going, who's a knowledgeable essential oil practitioner? Again, we know you do other things, but this is just the way that we can do it fast. If you want Kelly Baye to come up, then you've got to teach the AI about Kelly Baye and allow it to index that like Google does, so that it says essential oil practitioners, Katish Haberfield or Kelly Baye or whatever. Katish should try it out because she said, who is most famous for being a ghost rescue medium? And it came up with her and this other lady who she'd never heard of, and she found them on YouTube. And apparently AI knows the two of those ladies as the most famous ghost rescue mediums in the world, and that's not to insult anybody else who have done that, but she's obviously trained it because she had to teach herself how to do the ghost rescue episodes from her podcast. So she obviously didn't turn that button off, and she only knew about it yesterday, but it's then backfiled that onto its, well, service is the wrong word, knowledge base, and so it associates Katish Haberfield ghosts as part of its knowledge base. So possibly in the future, even though she doesn't offer those services directly anymore, somebody might go, there's a ghost in my house, ChatGPT, how do I find help? Instead of going to Google, and the answer might come up Katish Haberfield, and they might go to her website and they're like, there's nothing here. Well, they might put ghost in the search bar and they can listen to 4 seasons about ghosts and get some extrapolated information, and then maybe they come and have a 1-question session like you're doing now to get some answers about how it applies to their life. So again, like anything, it's what is your intention? How can you deal with it in your time frames? What are your boundaries? How will you check and keep control of your emotions and your feelings? And then how would you like to use it? Because you have been given a blessing and there is no forbiddenness. We don't think you're going to be using it for pornography. You're not that kind of person. But for example, do you know what I mean? You're not like a sex child trafficker or whatever it is. Just as you would use social media, use AI to find boundaries, set your comfort range, and then determine how you would like it. But be wise. When you travel overseas and go somewhere, go to a new country with a new culture, different little rules, you need different vaccinations. Well, you have to approach it like this. This is an adventure that you can choose to be part of or you can opt out of. But increasingly, those that will use these skills will tap in faster. So if you want to be discovered faster, then use it, but do you have time? And secondly, the part that we're running out of time is that as you learn to use the technology, your higher self will send you instructions that will be encoded in messages in your mind, which then say, oh no, this is how I actually want to phrase it. This is how I want to use it. It's like that download, that insight, that moment of aha. And that is how you know you're having a breakthrough and that your higher self is on board, because simply that aha moment will make things easier. Things seem to work for you. You get the insights faster, you get back on track quicker, you get the results that you're looking for. You feel like it is an assistance to you rather than a hindrance. And you're able to say, we've been teaching Katisha to walk away before you actually even get frustrated. Okay, I've had enough time. I need to go outside now. I need to go for a walk. I need to have a cup of tea or whatever it is. And then you say, I've had enough of ChatGPT for today, and I'm going to let my brain rest for a few days, and I'll come back and I'll pick up that task. So we know that was a lot of different bits and pieces, and we hope that you received enough information in this public forum to go and do your own explorations. But yes, understand that you are welcome. It is a blessing. Learn to be blessed by it, but also know that it is new. So it does bring any of the learning curves that any form of new technology on Earth has. So with that, we will let you digest that information, and perhaps you can think about it and set your own boundaries and thoughts down and do some reflection yourself. So the blessings and love from above Archangel Michael in a different kind of stream. We will let you connect back to the angel. Okay. Who also sends her blessings and love. And then we will say, okay, the higher self has been listening. And there we go. Transmission complete. Okay. I hope that was helpful.
Thank you very much.
Kind of in and out and up and around.
I think it was helpful too, yes. Okay.
So thank you
Thanks,
for
Katish.
helping with that question, because I know a lot of people will have the same question. Appreciate that.
Me too.
Okay.
God be with you. Thank you.
And with you. Take care.